morning, everybody. Welcome to the Trading Market Technicals morning call video for Monday, October the 15th. Another down session on Friday. Pretty much benign, though. Low volume. Looks like just seemed like nobody was really interested in doing much of anything. Very, very quiet session. Markets chopping around, but eventually drifting its way lower, closing at the end of the day. And basically for the week, we had NASDAQ leading the action to the downside, falling 2.94%. Russell down 2.33%, S&P down 2.1%, and of course the Dow Jones 2% respectively. Amongst all of these sectors, technology again was a primary laggard, falling, taking its cue from its other sectors. Consumer discretionary also fell 2.8%. Healthcare took a little bit of profit taking, but not much. And of course, the sector that mostly led on the defensive group was utilities, and that just basically was off 6.65% actually. So we had another down week. Money rotating out of technology. Just a quick recap overnight. Very quiet again. To me it seems like something is brewing here for a bigger move. And I keep saying that, and markets just can't stay in these ranges. The currency markets are very quiet itself. You have the euro dollar up 0.25%. Really nothing going on. Dow futures up 46 handles, and of course the S&P up about 4.5, 5 handles. So kind of quiet though. A little risk on in the overnight. Europe's up small, but still we do have a little bit of a bullish tone. It's going to be interesting to see if this bullish tone can stay with us throughout the day. Now, I just see a lot of charts, and we'll go into them right now. But I just see a lot of charts trying to hang in there at these levels. But we did break the 20-day moving average in a lot of these charts, and 50-day on some of them, on a lot of the sectors. So we're getting a mixed bag here. I'd like to see a little more downside before we could start to build some long positions going into next month and in December. But we got to. It's basically a wait and see. And let's get into the indicators here. NYMO really, again, guys, not telling us much. As you can see here, since basically July, we've been bouncing back negative 30, plus 30. But what this does tell me is that if the market decides to continue lower, this has some room to get oversold in a big way. So this tells me that we do have some room further to the downside before we get really into these extreme areas. So something to really keep an eye on. Last week I said NASDAQ Summation Index on a weekly chart gave us a sell signal, and this was 3 weeks back. And sure enough, what a beautiful little sell-off we had in the indicators. If you're an index guy and you wanted just to sell the NASDAQ, well, there you go. That was really basically telling us your sell signal. And there's no sign of reversing. So to me, I think there's going to be some further downside in the NASDAQ as well as the technology, obviously. Copper here. I thought copper started really looking nice here. I broke out of this bull flag, but we had a nice big move on Thursday, and we clearly took it all back on Friday. So again, guys, not looking really too good here, but we have to hold this 370 area. So if you can see here, 370, 380. We're stuck in this range, 385. Let's go 385. 370, 385. A break below one way or the other. We should catch the 20 and the 50. But as you can see here, starting to look like it's going to cross over. So this is something very interesting to see what copper does. And if you're playing the miners and a lot of these like the GDXs and Cleveland Cliffs, the CLFs, keep an eye on the copper because that's going to really be a big help for you guys if you're trading those sectors. Now the dollar. Well, what's to say about the dollar? Really not much happening here. Chopping around. We had that little bullish falling wedge, really steep. We broke back into it, bear flag, broke above the 20, and now we're just kind of hovering around here. So the dollar is going to be a tell sign here. If we're going to move higher, then of course commodities and equities will move lower. If we break down here, then of course we'll have a little bit of a pop in commodities and equities itself. So the dollar, we need to see what happens here with the dollar. But again, with copper starting to get weak again, and the dollar kind of hanging in here, really can move higher. that's going to really give us what's going to be the next trend here. And, you know, we really didn't get much out of the non-farm payrolls, which I'm really kind of disappointed with. Usually non-farm payrolls, we get a little dictation of where the markets are headed, and gives us a little bit of an idea. Okay, well, this will dictate the trend continuation, or we're going to get a reversal. Really hasn't done much. Yes, we did get several days of market sell-off, but it really was quiet. A lot of the stocks, except the technology area, have been selling off, and it's been a quiet session in the intraday. So let's just continue to look for our best setups, and let's move on. All right, now weekly chart of the S&P cash. Back into this area, we had 1, 2, 3, really been chopping around from the 1460 area, 1470 down to the 1422, and look where we are right now. Stopped right at this 1422 area with this little area here, marking another top area here. So this is a big area for this week, guys. 1422. Take a look at the 1420 area. If this we close on a weekly basis below that, I could see further downside back to this 1380 area, and that'll be the 20-day moving average. So let's just keep an eye on that. Bonds, TLT, I did mention on Friday we had this 50-day moving average. We're at resistance, so that was telling me, hey, you know what, maybe we get a little bit of a bounce. Not happening. We did break it back above it. Now we had a reversal candle. We did close still above the trend line and the 50-day moving average. It'll be interesting to see what happens this week if the TLT could get back down here. Obviously, will give momentum, money coming out of bonds, and money going back into stocks. So watch the TLT today's too. So, you know, a little different indicators to me helps me give me a good bias or a good idea of where I think the market's headed, and that's going to put a little more comfort level in your trading during the day. So this is another one that I'm watching during the day as well. All right, so we have the spiders, right? Double top, head and shoulders, however you want to call it. I look at it this way. I put my area here, real simple, and I bring it back down here, back to the bottom of the neckline, and that's what I get. This is going to be my target. Is we 138.99, 139, call it if you will, and we have that head and shoulders or the double top, however you want to look at it. Remember, this was a little tricky. We had that symmetrical triangle, but it broke. It failed, and then we rolled back over again. So now we broke on the neckline on the daily. We had broken the neckline and closed below the 50. So to me, a little bit more downside, maybe a back test again, and then let's see if this thing could get a target of 139. Okay, doesn't have to, but look at this thin zone area, these volume profiles, very interesting. And usually, when you get some downside momentum, they usually overshoot. So it wouldn't surprise me if we get to this lower trend line here at 137.5 for the spiders, which would bring this 200-day really come up to this area here. So take a look at this. As you can see, look at our MACDs really opening up, really our histograms making lower lows and lower highs, and our stochastics obviously not even oversold yet. So there is some downside momentum here. We can pick up to the downside, and there's plenty of room to go lower without even officially saying, oh, we're oversold. That doesn't mean that we can't get a bounce today. As you know, futures are up in the pre-market, but I think that bounce will probably get sold into a little bit further. And look, I'd love to see a total of a 5%, 6% correction here off these highs, and really get a little bit more momentum to the downside before we look to start picking up some longs. And 15 minutes, just wanted to show you guys we did break this area here, that critical area, and we have low volume profiles here. We have really no support really that comes down to around the 140, and again that 139, 140 area here would be your projected target on that head and shoulders pattern on the 15-minute. Okay, another concerning chart would be the Dow Jones Industrial Diamonds, we'll call that, sitting on the 50 and this uptrend line. Now, however you want to draw it here, I look at it as that we are right just about there. That means that to me we were sitting on, we did break it, but we're right at it. If we lose this, I think that this is going to help portray more selling in the equity markets here. So this is going to be another critical watch on the Dow to see what happens today and the coming days as well. Transportation, just ugly looking chart here, guys. Back here, 20 to 50, as you can see. I said, watch if we do break this. If you remember a few weeks back, we're going to have a lot of overhead resistance. Sure enough, can't get above the 50-day moving average. And this is something that really needs to pick up steam to the upside if we want to get a good move. Now, transportation and the seasonality is coming into some strength. So let's see if this starts to turn around. If that starts to turn around, this will definitely help the equities factor. Okay, IWM, same thing. Head and shoulders right up in this area here, and as you can see, we are now at our first area of support, which was resistance here, 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 and we close. Literally, we touched the low to the penny. A break back below this area here, risk will clearly come off, and then you'll be testing this area. Your next area will be this 200-day moving average, and if I just grab a horizontal line right here, you can see where I'm coming from here. Volume profile is really low here and right here. So that's going to be our projected target area if, in fact, the IWMs continue to sell off. Now, this is ugly. Look at the MACDs opening up again. We have distribution days here. And then, of course, look at our stochastics rolling over. So our momentum indicators not telling us anything positive here. Apple. Now, we had really some great calls in Apple. We had our said I wouldn't be buying here 2 weeks ago. We rolled back over again. We said, let's get a back test. We couldn't even break the 20. We just reversed on a reversal, and then we had our clear drop right down here into that 620 area. Where do we go from here? Well, if we take this trend line and we take this consolidation, as we have this confluence area of support, if we break this on a closing basis, your next shot is going to be this 580. Hate to say it. I don't know if I'd be short, and I don't know if I'd be long. I think I'd step aside here. If you do have a position, you might want to protect your long and or your short position here, because really anything can happen in this area. We had a doji candle here on Friday. So to me, the risk here is greater for me to be long and or short. But if we do break this area on a closing basis, I would definitely try a short. Stops just above here and look for a 588 target area. And this is where it is. Below 620, I think we get to 588. And there's your Apple analysis. And last, couple more. SMH, really ugly. You can see clearly coming out of the semiconductor sector. And we right in this area. So we're starting to get into some support. But we're still a little bit more downside here in the semiconductors. Q's, last shot of the Q's, guys, same thing. As you can see here, we're really 65, a little bit lower. And again, whatever Apple does, we're going to get momentum to the downside and or to the upside if Apple can catch a bid. Heavily weighted in the Q's and, of course, in the S&P. So look at this distribution days. Now, we have been lower distribution days, but still nonetheless still red and still people getting out of Apple. So next step let's look for a 65 target in the Qs if Apple continues its way lower. All right, guys, that's it for the analysis today. Have a great day today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.